Okay, so I'm back, Katie Oropesa, and hope everybody's having a great Saturday. It's a beautiful day. I've already been out bright and early, and so joining me this afternoon, impromptu, is Elizabeth Strauss, Martinez Strauss. Am I saying that right? Because you've
You're
corrected
saying
me.
right, house, like a house, like Levi Strauss
Strauss,
jeans. Haven't
Strauss.
you heard of
Okay,
those jeans?
I used to wear those.
Okay,
You
well,
know,
it's
my
this.
mom was on a budget when I was going to school, and she was like, "You gotta pick as many colors as you want."
Okay,
But there's trial. So okay, so we're in the final stretch. You've been on a couple of times before, and you're running for Hillsborough County State Attorney. And if you prevail this for this primary election, you're gonna go on to it'll be just a race between you and against the Republican candidate, the incumbent. But
so
okay, so it's listen, this is a final stretch. I wanted you to come on and whatever's on your mind about what the race, anything that's happened, anything eventful that you'd like to discuss. It's all
sure.
you.
Well, thanks for having me on. It is a beautiful Saturday. After this, I'm going to jump in the pool with my 6-year-old son. He's excited to have a play date today. But I was really excited. I wanted to make sure that everybody heard I won the only straw poll that actually didn't have Susie Lopez on the ballot, which I was really looking forward to. The NAACP had they don't want to call it a debate, but it was sort of like a debate, a question answer for me and just Andrew Warren, which was the only one that we've had, which I thought is a little odd. I think there should be more going forward. If you have a primary opponent, they've done them only with all three of us. But some of these events, all these events that we've been to so far with the other straw poll, you have to pay to get in. And then like at the JCC, there wasn't even any moderator or question answers. Everybody just goes into a little booth after they walk around these tables and they look at pamphlets and materials, and then they go in these little booths and they vote. But what happens at these events is you get a bunch of politicians and people that have money, because you have to pay to get in. Some of them are expensive. I think that one was $45. I'm not mistaken. But they're political people, and they go in, and basically Susie and Andrew will split the votes, and I'll get a couple of crumbs. But I get sometimes discouraged at those events because I think that somehow I'm supposed to extrapolate that I'm the underdog because I don't get a bunch of politicians to vote for me. So I was really looking forward to the NAACP straw poll because Susie Lopez wasn't on the ballot this time, and it's a free event, and it's one where they actually do ask questions and they get to hear the candidates' answers. And I won 81-70, and that gave me the encouragement that I needed in this last final stretch to really know.
Actually, it was 80-71.
80 to
But
70.
who's counting?
No, I am counting actually. It was 9 votes. Did I say 81-70?
Yeah,
Okay, sorry. Yeah,
I just
no,
didn't want anybody to go on there
yeah,
and
no,
then say,
it was.
"Oh, that's incorrect."
No, you're right. It's 9, not 11, and that makes a difference. Those 2 votes that could make the difference in this election. You never know. It could be 2. It could be 2,000. But my dad was telling me today. He said, everybody that says you're the underdog, they sound exactly like when Andrew Warren was running against Mark Ober. Everybody said you're never going to beat Mark Ober. Everybody said that. Nobody believed Andrew Warren was going to beat Mark Ober. So he says, don't be discouraged by all these haters that keep saying you're the underdog, you're never going to win, because those are the same people that said Andrew Warren was never going to beat Mark Ober. And look, he beat him. So
I
you
want to
just,
say good afternoon, Candy Lowe's tuning in, and I always like to say hi and acknowledge that I much admire her and all her advocacy and commitment to her community for decades now. So listen, and I'm sure you've gone attended tea and conversation. Have you?
I
Have you?
have not been. I didn't even know that existed until a few weeks ago, but I would love to go.
Okay, sure, yeah. So just be on the lookout. Follow her page, because that is a must. A, a forum, community, a gathering that has been uh, she's been doing it for, like I said, like decades now. So, and look, oh, she is welcome, of course. So even whether, listen, whether you
Thank you.
prevail, but whether you prevail or not, that's something that everyone, people running for office, people in office, not in office, it's a good place to sit, break bread, and interact with other community members so that what you can agree on and work towards for the betterment of the community is a great a thing. So,
Absolutely.
um, she's asterisk. I don't know what that asterisk represents, but anyways, thanks for tuning in, Candy, and being supportive of the platform and the broadcast. And you're always welcome. We always have you on regularly to promote your events, and to talk about the good work that you do. The straw polls, you're right. I remember that I supported Mark Ober in 2016 against Andrew, and I wrote Andrew actually. I was a little hard hitting at times, but you know what? Mark I think did win a straw poll, and straw polls to me are not very reliable because
No, they're
I
not.
have I have since learned, had I not been involved to the extent that I have been now since like around 2014, um and I was interested more so in having oversight over the judiciary and judges and that, and it's converted into other areas of the criminal justice system and other issues because it's all intertwined: legislature, judiciary, executive, right? So, but the straw polls to me, they're not very reliable because of what I've learned since then. That
No,
yes,
they're
there's
not.
a
But
lot of
they're more reliable than the ones that are just the politicians, I think. But I don't think any of the endorsements, personally, I don't think any of the straw polls, because you're talking about 80 to 70. I mean, this is like 100 something people. We're going to have probably 50 plus thousand people in the community voting in this primary. So it's really hard to know. But it's just encouraging because it's a win for me, a small one, but it is something. It shows that there are people out there that nobody's talked to that are going to be voting for me.
I think in your situation, it's a good result because it's almost like it every
It
like
might
the
not
first. I
even
think I think the first one, the first straw poll they had, he won,
right. Well,
and
I'm
so
sure he's been
you're
in
making
lots
an
of
impact.
polls. I don't even know the people that go to the polls are also political people, even though they're not politicians, and they do encompass a lot of regular people. They're at least people that are involved enough in the community to go to the Monday 5:30. I mean, a lot of people are busy and they're just not interested in schlepping over in traffic to the event at Middleton High School, and they're still going to vote, but these people care enough to come, so they're a little bit more involved than your everyday voters, I think, because there's going to be a whole bunch of people that never even heard of me or Andrew that are going to go and vote, and that's just the reality of the situation. So I don't know. I believe in God. I thought it was a sign from God to tell me not
Listen,
to vote. So
if
maybe
I can,
I'm wrong.
if
I
what
don't
I
know.
said, listen, congratulations. I'm not trying
Thank
to
you.
take that away
No,
from
I
you.
know. I'm
That's a
not
good
going to
thing, but
be naive to think that's a sign that I'm for sure going to win, but it's a sign that there is hope, and it's not like,
it,
100%. Some people are going around town saying 100% she's going to lose. I'm
no, no,
like, you
no,
don't
no.
know. Nobody knows. We'll know on Tuesday, but I still have hope and encouragement. And even if it's from a straw poll that really doesn't mean anything and you can't extrapolate a win from it, it is encouraging to see that it's possible. It's
If
still
I could,
possible.
yeah, if I could like say this after what I said, that may have come off as I'm saying, so what?
No,
For in your particular race, it is significant. I'll say that again because I think he's beloved in
he
the
is.
community, and so he
And I
won the
still
first
think
one.
that what happened to him was wrong. But you know what? I want to talk about that a little bit because everybody, and he focuses a lot on this wrongful removal suspension. And I agree it was wrongful removal. But if you just hypothetically took that away, and let's just say he never was removed, he was never suspended, and he was doing a good job as the state attorney, does that mean that nobody else can ever challenge the incumbent? Because that's the mentality of the community, is what I'm feeling, at least from the politicians and the leadership in the party. It's like, if I win and I do a great job, I'm supposed to be offended or be upset if in 4 years, when my term is coming to an end, another Democrat wants to run. And I don't think that's I don't think it should be a seat that if you're doing a good job, nobody can challenge you. I think that people every 4 years, whether you're doing a good job, an okay job, or a bad job, I think you should always be willing to let people jump in And maybe you just want a new face, and maybe you just want a new perspective. Maybe you just want a new boss. Maybe
you want to keep them on their toes so that they don't take it for granted and think, "Oh, I'm in, and nobody's going to challenge me because."
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't have to do something horrible or do something. Yeah, you should always have a challenge. And
Hi, Mona.
Hey, Mona, I do think it keeps people on their toes. And I hope that even if I won in 4 years, that there would be a newcomer like myself who would put their name in the hat and challenge me, because it'll keep whoever's in there, whether it's me or whether it's Andrew Warren, whether it's Susie Lopez. I like the idea of every 4 years, the public defender, if whether it's Lisa or Rocky, I like the idea of every 4 years, the people getting to see an option, a new option, whether it's because they just want a new option or they want to keep the one that's in there. It's a democracy for the people of the community to get to choose whether they want a new face in the office or not. That's nothing against Lisa or Rocky if they win and they're doing a great job. Who cares? Maybe in 4 years, it's not their turn anymore. Maybe it's somebody else's turn, not because they're bad necessarily, but just because a new person has put it out there that they're passionate about the role, and the people decide, hey, we want to give this new person a chance. You did a great job. We're appreciative of your efforts over the 4 years you were in office. You did wonderful. But we also like this new person to come in because we think they'd be wonderful too. And it's nothing personal, but it seems like what I'm feeling is the message over and over again is what Ron DeSantis did was wrong. And so in order to almost seek revenge, we must reelect Andrew Warren. And I don't believe that that should be the reason, the sole reason that people vote for Andrew Warren. I'm okay if it is. That's totally everybody's right if that's the position they want to take. But I don't believe we should seek revenge in that way. I think there's other ways. You can do it in the court system. You can challenge, that legal battle. You can have press conferences. You can, quote unquote, seek your justice or your, right the wrong in other avenues. But I don't think it should take away from the things that I want to do, because it's not that I'm just running because I think Andrew Warren's going to get suspended again, because I do think that, because I think Ron DeSantis has made that clear. And of course, people say, well, he could just suspend you. He could, but he's not suspending every Democrat state attorney in Florida. He hasn't. And I don't intend on doing anything like signing any pledges or doing anything extreme. I'm not a super far left person. But what I do intend on doing is advocating for open file discovery, the cameras in the courtroom. I want to start an anti-corruption unit. And I have a lot of ideas that I think will pass muster. They're not going to violate any blanket policies.
Okay, so let's hit them one by one. Hold on.
Sure.
Candy Low, everyone should have an opponent. They will take it for granted, for sure. If somebody stays there, like, look at the incumbent now with the public defender's office, 32 years.
Exactly.
That's a lot of time. So, okay, let's hit what you intend to implement.
I've talked a lot about the open file because that's what was done in New Orleans when I was a prosecutor. It's a very simple concept, and it's not new. It's new for Hillsborough County, but it's not new for the United States.
What does it say? So describe that open file.
So when you're a prosecutor, you have a file, and normally how they do it in Hillsborough County is they'll go through and they'll pluck out the police report and they'll pluck out what they think the defense is entitled to. And they'll leave out some other stuff that they just feel this isn't relevant. They don't need to see this, that, or the other. Well, in New Orleans, we handed everything over. Unless it had a social security number or a confidential informant's name, you got the whole file. It might have had stuff in there that you don't think is relevant, but the defense would get it. You would hand, like, for instance, evidence.com, you may have 500 links. 400 of them might just show the same thing from a different angle. And normally a prosecutor would just say, we're not sending them 30 videos of the same thing just because 29 are from different angles. We're just going to send one. No. When I was a prosecutor, you select all of them. You send every single evidence.com link. You don't pick and choose the ones that you think. Now that's a blessing and a curse for the defense lawyer, because now the defense lawyer has links instead of 50. But I'd rather have more than not everything, because it's that one angle that shows that one person that maybe you can find that saw something or whatever it is. It's just open file, meaning pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Open your file and give everything you have to the defense. That's not being done now. It wasn't done under Mark Ober. It wasn't done under Andrew Warren. It's not been done under Susie Lopez. And I intend on doing that day one That's easy to do. It's not objectionable. It's not, argument that you could say is unconstitutional or illegal or anything like that. So that's number one. The second thing is, it's not really up to me, but I don't think the judges would push back. It's advocating for cameras in the courtroom, especially in Florida, the Sunshine State. The media can already go in there. They only have to leave for certain types of, rulings that are, have to be confidential. But by and large, it's just a matter of getting the judge, to know that there's going to be a camera in the courtroom, not so much for permission, but I want it to air 24/7, that the court is in session. And I want there to be a link on the Hillsborough County court's website with the Zoom to each division. And that way, if somebody has a family member or not, they're just regular people that want to say, I want to see what's going on in whatever, Judge so-and-so's courtroom, go online, click the link, and boom, you're in the courtroom. You don't have to drive.
That's the modern day.
Why not? They're doing that
constitutional too. That the public is able to go into the courtroom.
That seems like something that disproportionately affects minorities as well, because they don't have the means, the transportation, the money to get downtown always, and they shouldn't be, precluded from seeing what's going on just because they don't have a car or just because they don't have money to pay for the parking. Everybody should be able to go and see what's happening so that they can make informed decisions for who to vote for judge, who to vote for.
Let's address this, because there are cameras in the courtroom.
There are, but they're like security cameras. They're not for everybody to see whenever they want to.
Okay, like, there's security. So let me ask you a question, is because I don't know the answer to this, and I want to know. They are for security, but they're recording that. If somebody needed footage, okay.
They could go back. But what I'm talking about is, like, they called it Court Watch NOLA. The way they did it in New Orleans is they literally had an iPhone on a podium, and that's how people would get in. And it would go through a Zoom link, but it was through an iPhone. It wasn't through the security cameras. They can do it whatever way they want, so long as you can see and hear what's happening, and you don't have to have any special password to get in. It was accessible to everybody. You didn't need any special code or anything. You could just go on the Orleans Parish website for the courthouse, and you would be able to click. It was very user friendly. You didn't need a lot of techie background to get in, and you didn't need a Zoom password or anything. So, the way it's done now on some of them.
What's the cost? What's the cost to do that? Do you know?
There's no cost. It's free. Zoom. It's just free.
I know, but do they have to like keep that footage?
No, it doesn't have to be stored anywhere. It doesn't have to be, if you want to see it, you got to log in at the time it's happening.
All right.
It's not going to like save it for you in an archive, but if somebody has a court hearing at 9:30 and you can't go in person, you can go on your phone or on your computer from anywhere in the country. And as long as you have, Wi-Fi or you're got data connection.
You understand, because you understand that some law enforcement agencies in implementing Axon, like the video or the body worn camera, they're like, the storage fees.
The storage is crazy. No, yeah, that is expensive. It is a lot, because especially I remember that was a huge deal in New Orleans also, with just storing all of our files and whether to use OneDrive or whether to use PBK, the software system they had. I recognize there is a huge amount of money that goes into storage if you want to store stuff, but this isn't storing. This is just a live stream. So that's something. And then an anti-corruption unit. It doesn't matter what you call it. In New Orleans, they had a civil rights division, or, that's more focused on like the, conviction review unit. But I'm talking specifically with relation to law enforcement misconduct. I think there needs to be a unit specifically dedicated to rooting out that's going on, whether it's an HCSO or TPD. There needs to be prosecution.
You froze. Elizabeth, you froze.
I froze?
Okay, now you're back.
I'm unfrozen.
Yeah, you're unfrozen.
So,
you got thawed out.
Anyways, I'm thawed out now. So that's just something I think needs to be done. And I don't see any downside to that.
I am sure the open file thing, I love it. I think we had a conversation about that before, and I was kind of like, I don't think I understood completely what you were saying. I don't. Yeah. I was my bad. But I understand what you're saying. You're giving everything and let them
Ev-
sort through it. There's nothing that we're gonna hold back. Anything because you're if you're right, if
Well, because
prosecutors
I've
start
had
picking and
cases where they're like, you don't need this 911 transcript. You can make a public records request for that. I'm like, no, I don't want to make a public records request for that. I want you to give it to me. You have a transcript. I don't care about that. You don't think this is relevant or, oh, don't go looking into this. That just makes me want to look into it even more.
whatever they have,
Give it
they
to
should
give.
give it all to you, to the
Yeah,
defense. I
they're
agree with that. I
not
agree with
against.
that.
That's how can you be against that? This is not
I'm
a.
not.
I know you're not, but I'm saying the prosecutor's office, whether it's Susie or Andrew or me, who could be against handing it all over? What's the problem? What is the objection? There cannot be a valid objection to that. So
I agree.
I agree.
That's a good policy. The second one, the live, I think a lot of people would love that because
Right?
you're right. If they're unable to be present for a loved one, a family member, whatever, even just to tune in and see what's
Yeah.
going on with this courtroom in this case and da da
What,
da.
what's the objection to that too? And what's the objection to how can you oppose an anti-corruption unit? What's the objection to that?
I wanted to just know the cost because then there would have been an
Right, of
objection to
course.
the
Yeah.
storage of
There's
that
always the money
footage.
aspect, but no, I'm
Which
not.
by the way, even if they do live stream it at no storage cost, then at the very least somebody can listen and hear something and say, "You know what? I heard this. There's a problem with that. Let me go get the audio through
Right. Or
digital."
they can get their phone and they can record it themselves and pay for their own storage. There's nothing illegal about that. It's an open
There's
courtroom.
that too. That's
So pull
true.
out your phone. You can record it yourself. Anti-
Anti-corruption.
no, nobody can object to that unless you're corrupt and then you don't want to be exposed. And
How does that look like? How is that going to look like?
well, it just looks like, what it sounds like. The anti-corruption unit keep track of stuff that is raising red flags, and when you see a trend, these officers need to be reported, whether it's to the U.S. Attorney's Office for violating people's civil rights, whether it's to internal affairs, but they need to know that the prosecutors aren't just going to brush things under the rug, which is what I think is happening now. And then the trial tax, that's another one that is really dear to my heart because I don't believe people should be penalized for taking a case to trial, and that's what happens now. We have Paul Whaley saying hello. Hello, Paul.
Hi. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes, thank you. So, I just don't like this trial tax. I get an offer for 10 years. I go to trial. I beat some charges, and now they're asking for 30 years. How does that make sense?
And that happens, folks.
That happens a lot. And I understand the acceptance of responsibility does yield a benefit, but it should not be more than it is in the federal system. You get a couple of years, maybe a few months, a couple of years at the most, not decades. You don't get penalized decades for going to trial and beating some of the charges. That doesn't make any sense. It's not fair. That just bullies people into pleading guilty to things that they haven't done because they're scared of going to trial and maybe losing, even if they're innocent. And I don't believe that we should be playing with people's lives like that with this barter system that goes on with the plea negotiations. I don't like it. So I want to eliminate that and say, look, I will tell the judge what the offer was, and then the judge's responsibility is to impose the sentence, not mine. If you go to trial and lose, the judge will look to the state for a recommendation, but it's the judge's job to impose the sentence. I can say, Judge, this was the offer. You know what happened. We went to trial. You sat here for the whole trial. You decide how much penalty to give.
I understand, but in that instance, just so that everybody knows how it works in the real world, the judge would not have been privy to what the defense and the state were privy to as far as facts, and the judge could at that time say, you know what, I understand what was
right, but then that's on the judge.
Right, for real.
Right, that's the judge's job. The judge is the judge, and but what's going on now is the prosecutors are saying, I want this, and everybody knows the prosecutor wasn't asking for that before. They're
right. No. I understand what you're saying. Sometimes, listen, they try to coerce, and then it's funny because then they do have the plea colloquy. Are you being coerced? And it's always like the state's like, well, if you don't take it, you're gonna. It's gonna really be
on the record too, just so you know, Judge. I'm gonna put it on the record now. If they don't take this deal is good for 24 hours. If they don't take it, we're going max. And then you're like, what the heck? So I didn't do that when I was a prosecutor. I'd say, Judge, the offer was this. They lost. You do what you got to do. Right. And then sometimes the judges would hammer them, but that's judge by judge. Then you can decide when it's time for, re-election for these judges or they get challengers, then you can vote for the other person.
Yeah, because I understand, because the judges can actually say, you know what, they learn about things during the trial that they didn't know prior
Okay.
to going to
And
trial.
I
And
have
look, at the end of the day, if every prosecutor, should you win, has to go to trial, you're going to have a problem on your hands.
Yeah. And the judges are going to give taxes. I'm not saying that we're going to eliminate the trial tax just because we're not asking for it. But all I'm saying is we're not going to ask for it. It's not our job to ask for it. It's the judge's job to impose it. All our job is to say, Judge, this is what we were going to offer them had they not gone to trial. Now you decide. And I don't think judges should really tax people personally. I do think they should get a little extra time because
But you get an opportunity to mitigate during sentencing.
You do.
But listen, but just so that I want to remain intellectually honest. If every case went to trial, that's not sustainable in the system. That's why the plea system at some point became what it became. Some people have a problem. Well, why are you going to give them a plea? Well, because if everybody goes to trial just to see what, maybe I'll get better after a jury decides.
Yeah.
It's unsustainable.
It will not sustain itself. But what's happening now is barely any cases are going to trial because people are getting these offers that are too good to turn down. They're ridiculously coercive, and people will be like, how can I pass that up? They're offering me probation, and I'm looking at 45 years if I go to trial and lose because I got 3 second-degree felonies. And you're like, wait a minute, that's too much.
Yeah, but some people do. I've seen it recently. They will say, let's go. And there's a lot of reasonable doubt. So they say, I didn't do it, but
and it also goes to the charging decisions that prosecutors are making now, which I think is go high for leverage and then, hope that you can get it. But even if the jury comes back with what they really should come back with, then you're back to where you should have started. And I don't think we should overcharge people just to have leverage in the negotiations. So
okay, so open file, camera in the courtroom, no storage costs because it's just going to be live, so people can tune in and be present virtually in the courtroom, and then anti-corruption unit. What else?
And eliminate the trial tax. Those are some, like just putting that out there. That
okay. And anything else? Any other points on your platform?
I believe in hearing people out. I don't think one person should come in there and think I have all the best ideas and I don't want to hear anybody else. I know it sounds maybe elementary, but a suggestion box. I'm all in favor of, do you have any suggestions? Not just from the ADAs, but the legal assistants, the victim witness coordinators, anybody that wants to make a suggestion. I don't see any downside to looking at suggestions and hearing people out because some people have good ideas. I don't think we should be micromanaging employees. I don't know how much of that's done in the prosecutor's office, but when I was a PD, it was like, where are you? What are you doing? Every second of every day, they want to, I would think people are adults. If they want to work from home and they don't have court and they have their laptop and they have all their files, let them work remotely.
Okay, so Mona says it was, I like that. I knew Mona was going to like that because you can monitor how the judge operates in the courtroom. Of course, everybody wants to tune in. If they
everybody wants to
see what's going on. Right. And here's the thing. Candy Lowe says a suggestion box. And I'm sure that should you prevail and become the next Hillsborough County State Attorney, you are going to continue to become involved.
I want to
including teen conversation in the community to hear regularly. Because some people run for office.
And I'm one person. I can't be everywhere all the time. I want people like Candy Lowe or the NAACP president or regular people in the community to be able to have that conversation. And a suggestion box is a very easy way to help do it. But we also need to have liaisons, and they don't have
look. If there's someone that you're gonna have an open line with, would be Candy, because she is a community member established for a long time, and she's there regularly having her tea and conversation. Where judge is a trend.
She needs to,
Robin Fuson, Gutman.
Right.
I've seen she's, and this is not something like a fly by night thing. She's been there.
Yeah.
For decades.
And people know her and they trust her. And so she would be a perfect person to have a line of communication with.
And here, I'm going to say this. I brought you on and you've brought a lot of good platform points for the community to know. There's still a couple of days today. There's shows to the polls tomorrow. Today, people are voting. Tomorrow, Monday, you can't vote. But then Tuesday's the last day. But Candy is neutral. I love that about her. I do. and that is a lot, much is needed as to neutrality, because our country is so divisive and people are so angry. And
Yeah.
listen, for a
I think
moment
this
the other
wasn't
day I had to
the
step back because it's a
Yeah,
lot. And
it's
it
a
gets
lot.
ugly. When it gets ugly,
No, trust me. This is new. Me and my sisters are like, what did we get ourselves into here?
for real,
In the
for real. But
community,
you know what, Candy,
she's right.
the one thing that I like about one of the things of the many that I like about tea and conversation is that she's neutral. Okay, she has friends on both aisles,
That's
on
good.
both of the aisles, and everybody's invited. Everybody's
Everybody,
invited.
and
Red, blue,
I
so
don't
to
even.
have a conversation.
I want to take, and I love that because this
19 years. Congratulations, 19
is
years.
awesome.
19 years.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't like how it's gotten so political. Every time I tune in or go on Twitter, it's always DeSantis versus Andrew and Susie, and it's Republican and Democrat. And I get this is a partisan race, but it really should not be. This is a process. We should be talking about issues and visions and what you intend on doing, because it's not a Republican prosecuting office. It's not a Democrat prosecuting office. We are prosecutors. We don't treat people differently because you are registered as a Republican or a Democrat. It's really not supposed to be that way. You get a case file in, and you don't look at it through the lens of, I'm a Democrat, so I'm going to do this, or I'm a Republican, so I'm going to do that. It's open it up. Do we have evidence beyond a reasonable doubt to prove that this person committed a certain crime? What is that crime? That's the crime that they should be charged with. We don't
You're
overcharge.
welcome, Candy.
You don't do that kind of stuff, and that's what I hate to. I hate to hear so much about politics, because it has, and unfortunately, I do think DeSantis made it worse by interjecting himself. But had he not, we shouldn't be talking about this. I mean, it's really got no place. So I hope that whoever wins, that they stop this back and forth with, oh, let's talk about DeSantis. Let's talk about what you're going to do when you get in. Are you going to do the same things that you did before? Do you have any new ideas? Are all the prosecutors going to be treated the same? Are all the victims going to be treated the same? What is going to be different? And I don't think that people are as satisfied with the status quo under Susie or Andrew Warren. I think people genuinely want to change, just like they wanted to change after Mark Ober was in it for a long time. Sometimes it's just about wanting a new person to come in and do something different. And I'm here I have a lot of things that I want to do differently. And I hope that I'm given that opportunity. I think we're heading in the right direction. I feel the momentum. And we only have 3 more days of voting, today, tomorrow, and Tuesday. So we'll see soon enough. But I think this community could use a change. And I hope that I'm given the opportunity. And I'd love to see everybody focus on what is going to be done, whether it's me, Andrew Warren, that wins, or Susie Lopez. What is it that you're going to do differently? Or are you going to just stick with what you did before? And it sounds like everybody's touting their success when they were in office. So,
Okay, so Elizabeth Martinez Strauss, there you can see it on her name on the screen. If anything that she said is of interest to you, something that you think that, yeah, that's a good idea for somebody gets to lead for the next 4 years, the Hillsborough County State Attorney's Office. My name is Heidi Oropesa. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all of you who contributed through the comments.
yes.
Thank you so much. And look out for that name on the ballot.
Yep. I'm first on the ballot. It's me and Andrew Warren. Yeah, well, because my name.
Oh, yeah. You're on first on the ballot.
So I'm
Duh.
there.
Have a great rest of the Saturday. Go.
Thank you. No, that's it. Vote for me. That's all I got to say.